Good morning. The old BMW is starting to clack around a little bit, and I think it's the valves. I just replaced the cam change tensioner with a manual one about a year ago, and that stopped the startup rattle it had. But here recently, it's starting to clack around a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead, tear it down, and walk you through the steps to get the inspection for the valves. So from what I've read, I forgot my manual, but it's going to take me a couple days, so I'll be going through the Shilton's manual with all the specs and whatnot. But it doesn't look too complicated. It looks fairly straightforward. Just a lot of body work that has to come off, and like the top of the engine, all the accessories like the Airbox and whatnot. But other than that, it doesn't look too bad. If they do need adjustment, that definitely looks a little more complicated and a lot more time consuming. First things first, this is what I'm going to do. There's 100 ways to skin a cat, but go ahead and remove the seat. There's like some torque picks right there. There's only 2 of them. And then this comes out, and then the side fairings come out, just 2 bolts, and then it's like a press fit under here. And then after that, I'm going to take off this top hat of the tank and then get to the tank. And then it just pops up like that. Oh, just kidding. There is 1 bolt that holds it in underneath the seat, but yeah, you just take out these guys and then pull it out. Also, don't forget to unplug your battery, because you're going to be unplugging the ECU and a bunch of sensors, so you don't want to mess with any of that stuff. It's probably recommended to take out the whole battery, but I'm not. I'm just going to undo the positive cable and stuff it in between like this plastic box and the wiring harness and call it good, but it's up to you. All right, after you unbolt this little top hat doohickey thingamajig, just pulls right off like that, and then you can take off these side fairings, and then this is like the little it has like a little hook right here and right here, so don't do what I did. You have to slide it forward and then out. So careful of that. Same thing with this side. Just so on this side, I didn't have like this little push thing, it broke off. But if you have a bike that's not broken, you got to pull this out right there, and then you can slide it up and then out. So that part was missing on the other side. So, but it's just a little push fitting that goes in there like that, and then you got that little hook. Super simple still. For the tank removal, there's going to be Torx here. I think that's a little bit bigger than what we've been using. And then you got a bolt that goes through the whole bracket here, and then this one on the other side. It's going to be a T30. These guys are kind of longer too, so pay attention to that. And then these also do come out, so be aware of that. You don't want to lose those. For the tank bolt, this is going to be a 10. And pull that old girl out like that, and then it'll so you're definitely gonna need 2 hands like that, but you don't want to pull up too hard, because you have the fuel line and then the little wiring harness going into it, probably for you know, the fuel pump and fuel gauge and all that stuff. So there's not a whole lot of slack, but there is a little bit to work with, so be careful. Looks like there is 2 connections right in there. Pretty simple to do. It's a little hard showing you this with one hand, but the connectors, you just lift up a little bit on those tabs, and then they just pull out. And then for the fuel line, it's really simple. See if I do this with one hand. You push in like that, and then it pops out like that, and it doesn't leak. So I think that pushes in like a little valve to, you know, make the connection to the seal. So you don't got to worry about that if you have a full tank. You could do this with it empty or full. I did jump the gun. I'm going to need to remove all the side fairings, you know, to gain access to the engine for like the fueler gauges and everything. So we'll go ahead and tackle that. For this next part, we're gonna take off this bottom half of the fairings. What I like to do is take it off as like one whole unit. My bike's kind of broken, so I don't have the bolt here. And then I kind of jimmy rig some stuff there, so it's not gonna be quite the same. But yeah, you just got a bolt here, and then these guys, and then some stuff in the front. My bike, a lot of this stuff is broken and missing. You'd have to unbolt those too, but you're gonna have to get these bolts right here and there, and then the ones on the bottom, like I was saying, and then this side will pop off, and then you repeat on the other same side. Same thing with these fairings. It is a T27. And then it's okay if it flops over like that. It's pretty flexible. I've done it, and it's never broken or anything like that. And then, like I was saying, this is broken, so your bike's probably not broken. So don't forget to undo that. Now I'll do the other side. Here. Same thing on this side. You got bolts right there. Go ahead and pull it out. My fairings are kind of haggard. You probably want to go put down something soft, but this is my bike, so I do what I want. For these other fairings, we got some hardware here, and I think on the back side you got some like little push pop connector thingamajigs. So it's kind of hard to see, but you got a screw in there. I put an Allen wrench because it backed out a long time ago, and that's what I replaced it with. But normally it'd be a Torx bit 30. And then after that, you shouldn't have to worry about all that stuff, and it should just pull right off. After you removed all the hardware and everything, there is two little push pop thingamajigs you got to pull out there. And then this one is pretty stiff, so careful when you pull that one out like that. And then this just slides out like this. And then I did already unplug the turn signal, but you can leave it in, and there's plenty of slack to take it out. Once you... Same thing with this side. You can leave the turn signal in, undo these bolts here, and here, and then you got one in there to remove. I already showed it. Oh god damn. Oh well, that happens. Nice. Unfortunately, damn, that's like a shitty molding. Dang. Yeah, that broke off. So there's really nothing you can do about that. But that was pretty good, and I've never taken these fairings off, so yeah, bummer. Roll. Now we got the top part all taken care of. There is a lot of bolts and everything, so what I like to do is I will just take all this hardware for this top part and put it right there. So it'll be in this area to kind of keep track. Now we got to take out the ECU and disconnect all the wiring with the, I think these are the fuel injectors. I don't know. So yeah, we'll get started on that. There's not much holding down the ECU. Looks like it's just the one bolt there, and then the one fat one we took out for the tank. And then these connections, tabs right here. You go ahead and pull that. Let's see, like so, and it pushes it forward. And then you do want to be very careful when you do this. Just keep going straight out, so you don't bend the little tabs, like so, because you got a lot of connections, and you do not want to bend any of those guys because it'll cause you a lot of issues. I needed 2 hands for this, but you unscrew this and it should be good to go. And this is your ECU. Don't force anything doing this. Everything should come off pretty easily. And then that one bolt, it's still a T27, the same as all the fairings and whatnot. I think this has 2 sets of injectors, but well, I think these are the bottom ones and like these are the upper ones. I don't know which is primary, which is not, or if these are injectors, but it looks like if you do on all these torques right here, this will slide out, and then with this connection, you're just gonna push in like that and pull out like that. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do on all these, and then this will come out completely, and then you can just lay it over, similar to what I did with the ECU harness. So let's go ahead and try that. You just remove all these and then just lightly pry up, and they'll pop out of the holes. It's just some O-rings that just, you know, sit in there. And then I didn't see, but there is like a little wiring harness, pigtail or whatever, going underneath this. So you're gonna want to remove all those. Gotta pry on a little bit. It's just like an O-ring for whatever sensor that is. And then it has like the same kind of connection right there. You just pull up on that little tab and pull on the wiring, and it'll come out. So after all that is out, you could just take all this stuff and lay it over. For the airbox, it looks like it's just 4 bolts that hold it in right down there, here, and here. And I think it'll just pull right out. And then this is a T30. These bolts, these skinnier ones versus the ones with like a washer and everything, those go up here with the little rubber grommet. This is your air filter housing. This part like this. Old girl needs a cleaning. Looks like you got a one-time clamp right there. You can cut that, but I'm gonna try not to. I think it'll have enough room just pulling it to the side here like that. Yeah, so if you're gentle, you can just kind of twist it out of the way like that. It's not looking like I'm gonna have to remove the throttle bodies. I'm not 100% sure though, especially because I left the manual at home. But I'm pretty sure the radiator is going to have to be removed, or not removed, but loosened up and pushed out of the way. And it just looks like there's a couple bolts down here, and then you got 3 on top, 1 right there. No, just kidding. It's that one, and then the middle one, and then on the other side. The radiator is going to be a T25, and then the one up here, or right there, is going to be a T30. So I got that first bolt out, and then it's kind of goofy looking like that, but it'll be real easy to remember where that goes. And then the middle one kind of sucks to get to. It is right there, right in the middle of the radiator. So I'm gonna get that one out next. I was able to get this middle one out with just a normal, ratchet and a T30. It didn't have the washer and this goofy thing on it. I don't know if someone's been in here before and just didn't put it back, but yeah, that's what it looks like. And then time to do the other side. So I got the second smaller Torx bit out for the oil cooler, and yeah, just kind of hangs down like that. And then up here, it looks like it's gonna be a lot more difficult to grab that other bolt, so I'll figure that out here in a second. So it's actually missing. I think someone's been in here before, but yeah, it normally would go right there. And this plastic thing has to come out too. I'm not sure what it is, but looks like there's a Torx bit here, and then probably the other side too. Yeah, right here, and then hopefully that'll come out, and then it'll give you all the room for the valve cover to come off. This trim is super in the way, so I remove this, and then these two screws go up in there like that, and then I'm gonna remove these two, and then all this trim crap should buy a lot more room. All right, now that's off. Now you can take that out of the way, or leave them. Just gonna leave them. Yep, just like that. Now this is out of the way. You can pull the radiator out and then get that screw right there, and then there's one in the middle way over there to get this whatever the plastic trim is, because it's in the way of the valve cover. For this little trim thing, whatever it's called, I'm finding it best to use like a little baby extension, probably about an inch or so, that's wobbly, to get in there. All the other methods did not work. And it is a T30 as well. So it looks like the only thing that's holding this trim back is this vent line right here that, you know, that went to the gas tank. And then this little wiring right here. So you just push this back like so. That, and then, okay, coming out this way was not working. I come over here and pull it out this way. Zero idea what the purpose of this is or does, but it took up all the room to get to the valve cover. So now the radiator's out, or not out, just pushed out of the way. This thing is out. Now you could pop off the coils and whatnot and get to the valve cover. I think that's interesting is this is the manual cam chain tensioner I put in about a year ago, and it's leaking pretty dang good through it. So hopefully the valves are within spec, and maybe it's just this that's failing or needs readjustment that's causing the intermediate you know, clacking around. So, but we'll address that later. Okay, fingers crossed we can take this valve cover off without removing the valve body or the throttle body. Looks like there's a ground there that I'm going to take off, and then all the plug wiring looks like it'll be able to fold over in this area and be out of your way. I think I'm going to put some towels in here to keep junk from going in. And that little guy was a 8mm. Definitely use a magnet because I dropped it, and it is a pain. What I'm finding best to undo the plug wires is use a little pick tool and go under there like that, and then pry up and then pull that out, and they'll come off really easy. Do this guy right here too, there, and then move this out a little bit like that, like so, and then all this should just push out of the way like that. And then they're cut to length to the plugs, so you're not gonna mix them up, so I wouldn't worry about that. And for these coils, if you can't get them out by hand, you can get like a little pry bar and then put it under there. Here, I'll show you in a second. I'm not sure using a pry bar is the exact method or the best method to do this, but Here's what they look like. I was able to get them out without damaging them. So I don't know, pick your poison how to get these out. They're pretty good. So with these valve cover bolts on the right side, it is too tight for a 3/8 Torx bit because of the frame, you know, right in here. Can't get shit in there. So I'm gonna have to get creative. And then if you have like a Allen wrench key kind of set, but Torx bits, something like this, but Torx bits, that is the key to getting these out. But if you don't, you're gonna have to get resourceful like I am. All right, now all those valve cover bolts are out. Stuck on there pretty good. So I like to take a rubber mallet and just kind of hit it, kind of break the seal. Be very careful. I would avoid pry bar use at first, but you might have to stick it somewhere in there. But let's see what we can do with the hammer. There we go. Cool. We're gonna be able to get this out without taking the throttle bodies out. I hope. No way. Gonna take the throttle bodies out. God dang it. Son of a gun. Yeah. So the throttle body's way easier than I anticipated. I just put my hand right here and then firmly, you know, lift it up like that. Because I was looking for bolts and everything, and I didn't see anything holding it down. So, but yeah, you just pop it up like that. It gives you plenty of room to remove the valve cover. So what I did to get the valve cover off, I kind of kicked it out to the left and then tilted it up, and while pushing back on the fan assembly, and it should come right out like that. Cool. Sweet deal. And it is recommended to replace your gasket for the valve cover. I'm going to, because it's already leaking, but I don't know, they're cheap and it's a lot of work for it to be leaking after you do this job. So, well, I'm at a stopping point today, but this is what you want it to look like when you get ready to inspect the valves. All right, so got my book now. It's just a Haynes manual, and I highly recommend you get one of these. It has tons of great information. So here's the specs for the RR, was what I'm working on. There's the intake and exhaust, and then over to the right there is the specs for that. Then I got my feeler gauges. It's gonna be, you know, at the tight end all the way to the looser end. Unfortunately, it does skip some sizes because it's a Harbor Freight special. So, I mean, as long as it's within those specs, I'm gonna rock it. What? Okay, so here is the directions of how to do this. It's chapter 1, page 18. I'm not gonna read it, but you can pause the video if you need to. This is the cap it's talking about in the book to turn over the crank. So we'll just go ahead and take that off real quick. It's plastic, so it's not on super tight. Yeah, so that's what it looks like in there. And then you're gonna rotate it. You can see that the dot right there. You're gonna rotate it until it meets the dot on that upper gear. And to turn over the crank, you're gonna need a 16 long or a deep socket. And then here is what the marks look like. The bottom gear, it's like almost like a white dot. And then the top gear is kind of easy to miss. It's a little impression right there. And then you just line those two up like that, and then it'll be top dead center on number 1, which is the far left cylinder. As you can see, the cam lobes, they are facing up and away from the cams, and the directions say to put the feeler gauge in between the cam and the rocker arm. not underneath the rocker arm and the valve spring. All right, so I got my feeler gauge. It's a 0.15 millimeter on the intake side, and then that's what it looks like. The direction says like all you need is like a good firm insertion, which it is. And then I went one up and it was too tight. So this first one is with inspect, and that's what you're gonna look like. The exhaust is a little bit more. It is between 0.20 and 0.26. So it's a little looser on the exhaust. Here's the exhaust side and what it looks like. See if I get in there. So underneath the cam lobe is the rocker arm, and this is a nice firm fit. There it is, right there. And then there is 4 valves per cylinder. So there's 2 more on the other side that I got to figure out how to get to next. This Harbor Freight tool really sucks, but I had to come from this side. And cylinder number 1 is in spec. All right, so now that cylinder number 1 is done and in spec, the directions say to turn it over 180 degrees so that that top dot is going to be down at the bottom, and then cylinder number 3 is going to be ready to be measured. So if you just want to turn off the ratchet to let it drop, go ahead and turn it on, and then just clockwise like that. That'll be get you pretty close. All right, here's number 3, the first one I'm doing on the exhaust port. That's what's in spec. The next one is going to be on the other side of where the cam is bolted down, and then same thing, just slip it in there. I couldn't get a good measurement from the front, so I went through the back, but yeah, it's right in there just like that. So the intake is good. Number 3 intake, good. It's right at 0.15 with a firm feel. Final intake valve on number 3, 0.15 as well. All right, number 3 is done. So the directions say turn it over 180 degrees for cylinder number 4 to be ready, which is the furthest to the right. Yeah. So clockwise, 180 degrees. Cylinder number 4, here's the first exhaust I'm doing. In there like that. And then the second one's gonna be on the other side, right there. Not bad to get to. Just like so. Everything's within spec. So now we're gonna do the intake. This one was a huge pain to get, but it took like 10 minutes to get it slipped in there. I wish I had the feeler gauges that had like a little bit of an angle to it. I think that'd be a nice tool for this job. And then the 4th and final valve on the intake side, I had to go from the other side through here, just like that. Kind of see right up through there. Also a huge pain. All right, another 180, and then it's going to be cylinder number 2, and it's going to be our final one. And everything's well within spec too, hardly any wear at all. right, this is the first exhaust valve on cylinder number 2. It is in spec, and it's right in there, just like so. And then the other one's gonna be on the other side of that cap. And here is the last exhaust valve on number 2. I went in from this way. It was a little loose. I went from a 0.20 to a 0.23, and I couldn't fit it in there. So it's probably somewhere in between there, but the specs give it a lot more room than that. Yeah, you got all the way to a 0.26, and a 0.23 would not fit, so we're good. Cylinder number 2, right in there just like that. Nice firm feel, so we're good to go. So that's a big weight off my chest. All the valves are good and like hardly have any wear, so they're probably the same clearances they left at the factory. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw everything back together and go for a rip. Thanks for watching. The only thing I'm going to recommend is getting these type of Allen wrenches, but Torx bits for the valve cover in this tight space. So other than that, I hope this video helped.